All right, here we go. It's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. Sun is shining. It's always shining. I love the humidity. I know a lot of people don't love it, but look, I'll take the humidity all day long for trading in January, February, what we deal with. Um, so let's get rocking and rolling. Today, I got the market of the moment update for you as it relates to what is the data telling us as to what's going on in the market. Foreshadow for you. Um, the market got a bit more competitive. We didn't see more listings like we were typically hoped for in May. And yet, at the same time, prices bounced back from an appreciation standpoint pretty substantially for what we saw in April. I don't know if you remember in April, I said, ooh, there was a trend here I didn't like the change to, but 1 month is an anomaly, 2 months is a trend. We didn't see the trend continue, so I'll explain that from a data perspective. I'll give you the market of the moment update and a few others things to be thinking about here. So kind of more of a data rich kind of content for you today. But let's just jump right into it. We have a handful of people that we want to celebrate for the month of May and those who capped in the month of May. First up, this person over in the North Shore, an incredible woman, an incredible mom, like the ultimate hustler. I remember back in the day, she used to sit at the library tables and she used to dial and smile for hours at a time while she built her business. She was the script master queen. Lindsay Andrews, congrats for capping in the month of May. Next up, a mom of three, another hustler who's been with KW for almost 12 years. Also had a boomerang. She left us for a little while and then came back. Corey Bolt, congrats on capping in the month of May. This woman does it all. She is not only an incredible real estate agent, a phenomenal mom. She also, her and her husband are volunteer firefighters up in the Mequon-Thiensville area. She also has a side hustle as a balloon arch business. Melissa Bradley is a woman of many talents. Congrats, Melissa, for capping in the month of May. Next up, an incredible human. You know what? I'll give John a ton of credit. Life's thrown him a ton of curveballs in the past year to 2 years. Been dealing with some things at home as it relates to his wife's health, and he has kept his priorities in line in terms of his family first, his business second, and yet his business, because he has taken care of his family, his business has rewarded him. John, congrats for capping in the month of May. Next up, a great story of a woman who gets her life partner into the business. Bethany is another hustler. You always see her at the library tables working on deals. She brings Todd into the business, and both Todd and Bethany capped in the month of May. Congrats, Todd and Bethany, for capping in the month of May. Next up, so we've like kind of coined this phrase within our compliance department. They are the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And within the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we have Lieutenant Kennard, who has capped in the month of May, an incredible mom to Rosie. Steph has been just an absolute blessing in our environment from a leadership team perspective, but also runs her real estate business as well. Congrats, Steph, for capping in the month of May. Next up, an incredible mom to Noemi and Gus. Gus is working the Lakeshore Chinooks this summer. Tosh and her husband, Chef Spellman, have been a part of our KW community since day one. They were the very first agent. Her and Andy Stillman were the first agents to jump over. Congrats, Tosh, for capping in the month of May. Next up, an agent out in Lake Country who I used to work with her husband back in another professional realm. We've had a ton of fun together over the years. Another woman of many professional talents, from her staging business to decorating and interior design to now jumping into the real estate business and building a nice business. Congrats, Lori Flatt, for capping in the month of May. Next up, a little tidbit for you. I went to high school with this person. They did, I don't know if they still do, but at one point when we were in high school, they held the pool records at Whitefish Bay High School. An incredible swimmer, DJ Frisch. The guy is incredible. He's been with KW and Highmark Real Estate now for, I think, almost like 8+ years. So congrats, DJ Frisch, for capping in the month of May. Next up, another person over in the North Shore office was on our leadership team for a period of time, had given of her many time and talent to helping. My fault. I have my mix up. Angela Funk, she's still in the North Shore, working on the Highmark real estate team. Angela got in the business about 3 to 4 years ago, has consistently attacked her business, an incredible what she's continuing to build. Congrats, Angela, for capping in the month of May. Next up, where I was going is Kim Gertis has been incredible in our environment, giving back to many, even now after she has chosen to step off the leadership team about last year, is still giving of her time and talent to so many. Talk about someone who's really focused on her family, always out and about in the community with her parents, going to Germantown High School games. Congrats, Kim, for capping in the month of May. And then last up over in Lake Country, I want to give a shout out to Dennis Greatens. Dennis is one of those guys that, again, puts his head down, goes about, does his business the right way, jumped over and joined us from the Madison area, but kind of lives between the Madison and Milwaukee metro areas, and has been a great contributor to our community out in Lake Country. So there's the first half of the May cappers. The second half will come back to you guys next week. So if you feel like you capped in May, don't worry, we didn't forget about you. We just split the group up. With that, I'm kind of continuing this theme of gratitude in action. Last week, I shared with you the story of my friend who, shared the story that my friend who was coaching the baseball team and someone reached out about his dad, right? And without going too more in depth into that story, it was a great way to show gratitude. Today's a little bit different. I wanted to highlight a handful of folks who are celebrating their KW anniversaries with us. A lot of people who have been incredibly loyal, and I'll tell you, it is not lost on me, and I'm incredibly grateful for the partnership trust that you all put in us. And shout out to Corey Bolt for 12 years, Josh Holt for 10, Aletha Champagne for 9, Bruce for 9, Kathleen Rosenheimer for 9, Katie Ninkovic for 9, Jake Bowman 8, Andrew Johnson for 8, Zach Shipley for 8, Dawn Shipley for 8, Kaylee Simic for 8, Wooten. Shout out to Wooten, who had her birthday over the weekend. She'll be on shortly for 8, Matt Lozniacki for 7, Nicole Wersich 7, Carol Carlson for 6, John, who we just celebrated, for 5, Natasha Meyer for 5, Shaquila Smith for 5, Alyssa Byer for 5, Amber Sykes out in Lake Country. Congrats on 5 years. Austin Zimmer. And then you can see the rest. I wanted to celebrate those who've been with us for 5+ years. Incredibly grateful for the trust and partnership you put in us, and it's a pleasure to serve you all every day. And it's something that we want to highlight once a month moving forward for those that are celebrating their anniversaries with us. All right, with that, we have a Mortgage Minute from the guys over at Cream City. John, Olla, what do we got this morning as it relates to the Mortgage Minute? Jola.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Let me just move this out of the way. Get him out of the way. All right, so in terms of rates this week, I mean, pretty much the war has been moving the market for the most part over the last couple of weeks. But last week, there was a job report that was a little bit stronger than we would have liked, which we saw a dip in the market. And then last Friday, rates kind of went up a little bit, but we're still teetering right around 6.5%. So that being said, there's a couple updates as far as condos go. Things to kind of think about as the year progresses. I think we're frozen. They do.
Jolie there.
He's the one who moves the screen.
There we go. All right. So the first big change is coming at the start of next year. Reserves. So right now, the minimum is 10% for all HOAs to have, and then they're bumping it up to 15%. So anyone currently budgeting between 10 and 14% need to kind of amp those up in order to become financeable. So basically anyone that's kind of under the 15% right now, if you have people selling, you might want to kind of prepare them for that. Maybe if they want to list come next year. And then the second is going to be in terms of project reviews. So there's not going to be a limited review anymore starting on August 3rd. So prep your buyers that there's going to be a full condo review no matter what. Even if you might have a waiver of some sort, they're still going to do the full condo review. So some things that they're kind of looking at that is going to be, the reserves, obviously. They're going to look at delinquencies, litigation, any inspection reports, things like that. So even if they're communities of less than 10, they're still going to do the full condo review. So just something to kind of prepare for, whether you're looking at buying a condo or selling a condo. And if you fail to meet any of these benchmarks, the condo is going to be non-warrantable, and no one likes dealing with a non-warrantable condo. So things to prepare for. That's all I got for you guys
Interesting.
today.
Awesome. Jola, thanks for the update as it relates to the condo market. All right, here we go. Moving into tech and marketing. Linz, what do these guys need to be paying attention to?
Okay, good morning, everybody. So I have a few exciting marketing updates for you today. All right, so let me move Charlie over here. All right, sorry. Just moving you out of the way, Charlie. Okay, so we've got some new 12 direct campaigns. So a lot of this content that I'm talking about today is really to help you position yourself as the community expert. And that's the goal of the 12 direct campaign. So new this year, we have local splash pads. Keep going. So a lot of these are popping up within our communities. So wanted to highlight those. It's a great spot to take your kids and cool off for the summer. So we've got a list of those available. We also have the 4th of July fireworks schedules for 6 counties. So like always, all of these are optimized as a postcard, as an email, smart plan, and command, but new just with a few of these templates for all of the 12 direct campaigns. We're going to be creating and optimizing the templates for Instagram posts and stories. So the QR code will get you into that Google Drive folder with all of these templates, but you'll also see folders for posts and stories now moving forward. So if you want to download all of those templates for, let's say, the 4th of July fireworks schedules, you'll see each of those broken up by county. So you can download all 5 or 6 of them. You can download just by county. So we want to make it even easier for you guys to share out this content with your sphere of influence. So those are all live and ready to share. All right. Another new announcement. So this was announced just yesterday, but your KW Canva accounts have gotten even better with the inclusion of Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. So they have now integrated Michael Lewis Marketing Suite into your Keller Williams Canva accounts. So you now have access to over 700 plus templates. So they're just adding and adding to these accounts to make it even more valuable for you guys, and even more access to postcard templates and things like recipes, which I'll get into on the next slide. So a couple of things that I just want to highlight with some of these templates, a couple of really cool things. So like I said, over 700 templates in your Canva accounts now, but you can search, for example, prospecting June. So you can do prospecting and then any month, and you're going to get relevant content for that specific month. So for example, prospecting June, you're going to find templates about the summer market. You're going to see holiday postcards and social media posts for Pride Month or Juneteenth or Father's Day. So it's really easy to find really relevant content that you can then either download it without having to edit anything, or you can take that template and tweak it and add your logo and do whatever else you want with it. You'll also find over 25 different recipe templates. So these are really cool. I know some of you include recipes in your monthly newsletters. Maybe you mail recipe cards out to your database, but you'll find over 25 templates. So like any sort of template that you find in Canva, you can either use the entire template that's already been created. These recipes are fully built out. So the recipe's in there. Otherwise, if you just like the template design, you can always take that and then put your own recipe in there. So again, a lot of really great content that you can utilize and add to your monthly touch points with your database. And then one other quick announcement, our marketing concierge is changing our email address. So just wanted to make note of that. We are now marketing at kwrealtymke.com. So anytime you have a question about, let's say, a yard sign or just needing to talk to one of our team members about a marketing project, or maybe you're wondering how to get access to your KW Canva account, or you're just looking for help on how to access the 12 direct campaigns or how to download and post something, you can shoot us an email at that marketing at kwrealtymke.com, and we will be able to help you with any of your marketing needs. So if you're submitting requests and you get an email back from this email address, don't fret, that is us and our team. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Sweet. Quick update for the group. Last week, we had a phone call with our app developer. A lot of really great stuff. I was with a group of really high producing agents last week leading a mastermind, and they were unaware that there was a web platform or a desktop platform that you can utilize. Lots of new features. There's also, from a cosmetic standpoint, the layout and things has been updated. We are working on additional layers in terms of, okay, when you have a question and you want to just verify with compliance, how do you click a button to then send an email automatically to compliance for one of our compliance brokers? Or how do you click a button to say, call the compliance helpline to confirm what I'm receiving? So we're continuously investing in continued development within the app. A lot of great features, a lot of unique answers. And I will tell you, Admiral Ashley has been working in the background to verify the answers as we give it queries. You ask prompts. We are reviewing the prompts to ensure that you're getting appropriate answers. And if not, if we deem the answer to be inappropriate, we're actually training what we call the brains of the platform to learn the appropriate response to it. So I just wanted you to know, in the background, we are constantly working to improve this to make it continuously value add for you within your business every day. All right. With that, Lieutenant Steph, what do these guys need to know around miscellaneous?
Miscellaneous. Good morning, guys. Yeah, the compliance team just has a mixed bag of topics this morning. Again, generally, all of our communication and our topics come directly from the hotline, and it's been great because we get to organize that information, organize the most common questions that we get, so we can address it in real time. All right, so first up, reminders around extending the binding acceptance date after an offer has been submitted. So as a buyer's agent, if you're submitting an offer and it's been communicated that the seller wants more time to respond, we can extend the binding acceptance date. This is key, though. The buyer side must initiate a counter offer extending that binding acceptance date. Where we've been running into issues, though, is that the seller, listing agents, have been having their sellers sign the counter offer as a quote unquote acknowledgement of receipt. That has just been offer has just been accepted. So please make sure that you're just, as a listing agent, receiving that counter offer with the new binding acceptance date. If the seller chooses to accept it, they'll sign the counter as normal and deliver it back. But we're not acknowledging receipt per se by actually signing that counter. So if you can imagine, we've had a lot of uncomfortable situations. So big reminder around that. And then just withdrawing contracts. So remember, if you submit an offer, if you submit a counter offer, if you submit an amendment, if the person submitting, whatever side is having second thoughts on that, that can be withdrawn prior to the delivery of that acceptance. So you want to do this verbally, but then always follow up with an email or a text or both. I'm always hitting every which way, right? So again, it can be withdrawn prior to the delivery of that accepted contract. All right. And then this is really important. All of this is important. The seller's election to cure. So if your offer includes a contingency where the seller has been given the right to cure, and that notice has been delivered from the buyer side, maybe a notice of defects, most often the case, maybe notice of objection to value if it's an appraisal, low appraisal value. If the seller is electing to exercise their right to cure, they must communicate this back to the buyer's side in the formal way, which is named on the offer to purchase, which is on a notice. We cannot, as listing agents, simply email the other side and say, okay, seller is going to elect to cure. That communication has to be on a notice and delivered back to the buyer. And then as an extension of that, it has to be done within that named time frame. So in the inspection contingency, for example, that 10-day default on the inspection contingency, that election to cure period that I call it, it has to be delivered back within that 10 days. The passage of that time, then the buyer can deem the offer null and void. So yes, lots of uncomfortable conversations around this as well when a seller has, intended to elect to cure, the listing agent did not do it in the proper way, and then the buyer's agent came back and served a notice saying that the offer was null and void. So sellers were pretty upset, right? So make sure that we're doing that in the proper way. All right. And then closing statements to the front desk. So this is to kickstart your paycheck, right? So after a closing, please make sure that you are turning in both the closing statement and the commission check into the front desk. Then our front desk peeps will get that over to the MCA. If there is no check due to excess earnest money, sometimes that's the case, please still turn in that closing statement to the front desk. Again, this kickstarts our accounting office process. Where we're running into trouble is that people are submitting this through command. That is not the proper process. So get it to the front desk. Any front desk. Yes, that's a good key point. We've got a courier. So if it's more convenient for you to turn it into the Southwest office, to Lake Country, what have you, please go ahead and feel free to turn it in there. And then just lastly, I just quickly added this. Charlie Walker put in a inquiry on a plumber into the Facebook page yesterday. So just know that our private KW page is a good resource to find information as well. So if you search the group, you can put in a keyword, Charlie could have put in plumber there, and then all of those prior conversations involving a plumber inquiry could have come up. I was looking for a plaster repair person recently, someone who needed a terracotta roof repair. So just use that as a source too. If 9 times out of 10, we have asked the question already. So, all right. And then lastly, of course, we've got our compliance helpline. We are manning that from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please feel free to text it though, whenever you want. Just know that we will be responding during the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's all I got.
Sweet. Thanks, Steph. I know the hotline's been hot. A lot of interesting things have been popping up. Our job's to help you with deal success and mitigate your risk, and appreciate you and the team for all that you do. All right, well, what do these guys need to be paying attention to as it relates to education and events forthcoming?
Good morning. So Jason Abrams is coming in just like 2 short weeks. It's going to be here pretty quickly. So this is really exciting for us. An opportunity that really doesn't come around very often. So highly recommend everybody attend Jason Abrams on June 23rd. It's at the Hilton. There's already almost 200 of your peers signed up to go. So it's going to be an action-packed morning with him. A lot of energy. You guys hopefully are following him on Instagram. So there's going to be a lot of great information for you. Then today, after team meeting over in the North Shore office, we have A+ Mortgage presenting all about condos from A to Z. So if you want to beef up your knowledge about lending on condos, join us in North Shore this morning. Then Thursday on Zoom, the region is bringing in Patrick Ferry, which that name is probably familiar to most people. And he's going to take you through a presentation about basically upping your marketing game. A lot of it's going to be AI based, but he's actually going to be like showing you how to build some marketing pieces in real time. This is free for everybody. And afterwards, if you register and attend, you'll get his playbook with his slides as well. So I definitely recommend you jump on that. And then next week in North Shore on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., we have 3 underwriters with First Colony Wholesale coming to join us, and they're doing a big Q&A. So this is presented by Kim on our ALC in North Shore and Cream City Mortgage. And I think there's going to be like a 20-minute presentation and then about 40 minutes for you to ask all your questions, which I think is really valuable for you. Again, this is a rare opportunity for you to plug in, get those burning questions that you have about why is the underwriter killing my deal. This would be the perfect place to come and ask that question, right? Coming up on Deal Defense next week, we are going to go through the vacant land offer to purchase. And then there is going to be another opportunity for you to jump on and do a Q&A with our compliance team around zip forms and AuthentiSign. So we just did a training yesterday about it. I sent everybody out the replay, but know that we're giving you another chance to jump in. Make sure you feel comfortable using zip forms and AuthentiSign as we transition away from DocuSign in the beginning of July. So it'll be here quick. Productivity coaching. This Thursday morning, we're doing the language of real estate and how to explain the offers and contracts to your clients. So if you feel like you need a little bit more practice on what to say as you're presenting the offer, I highly recommend you jump into one of our offices. And then also next week, we're going to be going through listing presentations and how to secure your listings.
Love it. Woot. Oh, one more. Sorry.
Just a reminder on the 90-day passports. So.
Sweet. Ignite will be back July 13th. Feel free to register. Curated list of incredible people. And then Mega Camp's coming back August 17th to the 20th with Simon Sinek as a keynote speaker. And then lastly, I'll just give a little plug. June 18th, we're hosting a career night in the North Shore. We've been rotating these. The last one was in Southwest. The next one will be in Lake Country. Or we did one in Lake Country. We're coming to Innovation next. So we're just hosting these throughout the year to get people who might be interested in learning what it might take to get licensed. Appropriate time of year. A lot of teachers who might be burnt out. I will tell you this. Some of you might know this. I keep this list of things in my life on my phone. I journal. And I don't add to what I call my fundamental truths in life until it's been tested. I have one fundamental hiring truth, though. I always hire teachers, nurses, and college athletes. Always. I barely look at their resume. I peruse their social media to make sure that they're an appropriate person. But teachers, nurses, and college athletes, one of my fundamental truths of it's a green light to hire. I can explain more if you're interested, but Career Night's coming up on June 18th. If you want to know the other fundamental truths in my life, I'm happy to share it over a beer. One of them is live music is good for the soul. I don't know, this is a really quick sidebar. I have really found that the journaling, even though that it's in my phone, has been a very cathartic experience about how I think about my life and being present. Just thought I'd share it with you. All right, so I'm going to take us home. So last week we talked about relationships and brand equity, and I just wanted to touch a point home. I shared with you the story of Trammell Crow, who built an incredible real estate empire during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Effectively, he was about to go bankrupt during a shift in the market, and he asked his partners to liquidate their funds to be able to pay off the banks. And all of his partners said yes. And the reason why, all of them but one, interestingly enough. And the purpose behind sharing it with you is if you genuinely care about people and treat them with goodwill, success will naturally follow. And I gave you the 3 lessons in today's market because there are a lot of similarities of stagflation, rising interest rates, a lot of things that happened in the 1970s that we're experiencing today. And the 3 lessons I shared with the group was, 1, future profitability isn't dictated by the current interest rates or the local housing inventory. It's tied entirely to the trust we build today. 2, if the market turns tomorrow, my question to the group was, have you built a deep enough reservoir of trust, integrity, and value with your clients, colleagues, and network that they would step up to back you up? 3, profit is created in how you treat people when you don't need a deal. Build your reputation today because it will be your ultimate liquidity tomorrow. I thought it was incredibly appropriate because there's so many similarities to what they went through in the 1970s to what we're experiencing today. And so much of what I feel from agents' energy when they're anxious is they're worrying about the next deal. And I always have challenged the group, you're not in it to build a great year, you're in it to build a great career. Your career will ebb and flow. The investments and the seeds you plant today is what will show up potentially down the road, and you don't know when those seeds might sprout. Water them constantly. Okay, so let's get into the market insights for you. Similarly to what I did last month, I pulled my predictions for 2026 in order to tell you kind of where we were. Closed units I predicted to be up 4%. Last month it was up 1%. This month it's up 2% from a year-to-date basis. What that should tell you is May was relatively productive. Based on forecasting of what I'm seeing so far in June, I would expect that to continue to trend up. So we still should be trending in a direction where the market should be getting closer to up 4%. Closed dollar volume, I made a prediction it would be up 8%. The market right now is up 7% and trending up. Rates stable. I thought rates would stabilize around 6 to 6.2. I also didn't foresee a global economic impact over in the Middle East. Rates are hovering right now around 6.4, but they've maintained that since basically effectively mid-April. And then we can talk about inventory demand and the Wisconsin advantage, which I'll go into next, because I thought this was incredibly insightful. And I wanted to share it with you again, because I had someone text me last week saying after last week's team meeting, they've already used it in 4 conversations. And so they appreciated it. And so I thought I would ground the group. I shared with you the domestic migration data for the state of Wisconsin going back to 1992. And from 1992 to 2021, it has been nothing but falling. From 2022 to today, interestingly enough, the migration patterns in the state of Wisconsin have been growing. And I just read a report yesterday on the Census Bureau that showed the 5-county metro area in southeastern Wisconsin is what they call the Milwaukee DMA, has been growing substantially. A lot more to come there. I got to unpack that census data in order to share it with you. But the region as a whole is growing. Good news for all of us because you need people that are willing to buy in order for sellers to be able to sell. Okay. Home values up 5.3% in the state of Wisconsin so far year to date is the second highest in the US. Why is that? Because of migration patterns. Something to be paying attention to. But again, demand within our southeastern Wisconsin area continues to be good. And I'm looking at the data in order to help you guys identify where it might be going. Okay. New unit inventory in the month of May was 2,812 units. It was basically effectively flat versus May of 25 and May of 24. So despite a roller coaster in the rate market and global economic uncertainty, we haven't spiked in terms of what we are seeing in terms of what I would call the de-thawing, but we also haven't seen uncertainty that would stop people from listing. Does that make sense? So I think continued leveling is fine. What we don't want to see is a receding of this information, especially in the months of May and June. So continue to pay attention. Total inventory, interestingly enough, May this year versus May of last year was up 5.5%, and versus May of 24 is up 13%. There's a reason for this. Homes being listed are taking longer to sell, not because there's a lack of demand. People are doing more due diligence. Okay. And so what that cause in the delay is happening is total inventory is rising. But what buyers need to know is it's not alleviating the competitive pressures. And I'll help you understand why that is here shortly. Inventory is growing, not because of new inventory units. It's just homes are sitting a little longer. The transactions taking a little longer. That's not a bad thing. It's just right-sizing seller expectations. Expired inventory units, they were up 48%. I know this says April. I apologize. It was versus May. They were up 48% versus May of 25 and up 49% versus May of 24. I've talked about many times, right-sized seller expectations on the front side. There is an opportunity to be number 2, but also to kind of just give a bit more context to why I think that this is happening is there is an increased incidence of sellers who are testing the market for price and terms. If they get their price and terms, they're willing to sell. If they're not getting their price and terms, they're not selling. Okay. Average days on market, 28 days. It's up 10% versus last year and up 12% versus 2024. But here's the important point. It's not the percentage, it's the days. It's taking 3 days longer. Whoop-de freaking do. Okay. It's taking 3 days longer than May of 24. Days on market are increasing slightly, but you can see here the average over the latest 24 months has been 32.7 days is the average. We were at 28. So we're trending faster than what the average is over the last 2 years. And yet it is rising slightly from where we saw in other spring markets. Here's where I will pause. Last month in April, we showed a appreciation of around 4% just year over year, April of this year versus April of last year. We saw a median increase of around 3%. And my word of caution with days on market increasing and a lot of global economic uncertainty was, is this going to be a trend where appreciation continues to slow through the balance of the year, or was it a 1-month anomaly? Well, now that we have the May report, I can tell you it was a 1-month anomaly because in May of this year versus May of last year, appreciation on the average was up nearly 7% and on the median up 6%. When you look at it versus May of 24, up 11% and up 10% respectively. So hard to say why the appreciation gains in the month of April were softer than versus March and May. But again, sometimes with a cyclical market, you got to spread the data out over 60 to 90 to 120 days to effectively say, look, I'll go back to what we shared earlier. Year to date, appreciation in the state of Wisconsin's up 5.3%. And so far, we're seeing appreciation hover right around 6% again. So if the average is 5.3 and May was 6.9, what you will see is that will bring the average up across the year. Again, some of it's you got to look micro, some of it's you got to look macro. What do the trends tell us? But my point in sharing all of this with a lot of global uncertainty and a lot of noise around oil and jobs, this, that, and the other, appreciation, basically, if anybody would ask me, hovering around 6%, second highest in the US this year. Good. And everyone at the eggs and the milk line will be like, great, move on. So here's what's winning. I pulled April and May of 24 to give you context versus what we saw in 24. Okay. You can see the metrics there. Here's what we saw in March and April of 25. Basically in the spring market, here's the rule of thumb. List price to sales price ratio hovers right around 103%. What's interesting, and when I'm going to jump down to the co-broke compensation, in previous spring markets, there was a bit more maybe discounting due to competition. Interestingly enough, this year in 2026, we reviewed 235 accepted offers just in the 30-day window of May. The list price to accepted offer ratio was 103%. Earnest money ticked up a bit, but part of that has to do with appreciation over the last several years when you just average out what roughly 2% of a home would be. Inspection contingencies, clearly it's a 60-40 ratio, 60 being no, 40 being yes. It's a caveat for the attorneys because this is a public call. This is not an endorsement of waiving an inspection. It is just simply what is happening within the marketplace. Average down payment of finance deals is right around 16.5%. Co-broke compensation was in the month of May 2.35%, and 84% of deals had a co-broke compensation commission of 2.4% or greater. That was a higher incidence rate than what we saw in March and April of 2026. Last thing I'll share with you is we're seeing a higher incidence rate of cash deals in the marketplace. More people leveraging a cash offer, whether it ultimately ends up being cash or not is a different story, but seeing 28% of all offers in the marketplace being cash. So there is, of the 235 deals that we reviewed across the marketplace, this is what was being accepted. And I shared with you some data to help people see where the competitive level of the market is going from a 24, 25, and 26 perspective. Helpful? Sweet. All right. Last thing, I'm going to nerd out on you on a little bit of macro econ because we are, our market is very much dependent on what is going on in the world today, and we need to be aware of it. Okay. Last month, I shared with you how mortgage rates are really tied to crude oil prices. It's an interesting, you'd never think about it, but it is more of an educational piece. So if you want to know where mortgage rates are trending, follow oil rates, because mortgage rates are typically about 2 weeks behind crude oil pricing. They move together. So I shared with you this data last month that basically shows you crude oil this year is up 74%, which would then explain, and all of that has basically been since March, that pricing increase. And you can see in February of 26, rates were 5.98%. And then it spiked to April 2nd at 6.46%. And then yesterday, or June 4th, last week, June 4th, it was 6.48%. Okay. Interesting. That's why rates move. Rates are pretty much tied to oil. The reason why rates jumped is what's going on in the Middle East. Now, the reason why I said why I hadn't seen a lot of uncertainty or a lack of demand in the marketplace is if you look at the S&P, when I showed it to you on May 4th, was up 6% in the past 6 months. And when I pulled it yesterday on June 8th at 4:07 p.m., it's up 8.17%. So the reason why you don't have buyers leaving the market is consumer confidence within where their capital typically is stored for the average US consumer. They're in a good spot. Now, if this trends in a really bad direction, that's when consumer confidence wanes, because it's typically where a lot of their wealth allocation is held outside of their real estate. Now, I'm going to share with you this too, because another thing as it relates to, we need people to be gainfully employed so they can make incomes to be able to afford their mortgage in order to buy a house, correct? I shared with you oil's correlation to mortgages. I shared with you the S&P 500's trends as it relates to consumer confidence. Now I'm going to share with you, last week, the U.S. Labor Department released their jobs reports for effectively in Q2 of 2026. And U.S. payrolls rose by 172,000 in May, much more than expected, and unemployment sat at 4.3%. Now, let me give you some context to what this means. A gainfully employed economy across the U.S. is 4%. So unemployment sitting at 4.3, healthy. The markets were not expecting the job reports to come with an increase like it did. And so when we saw 172,000 in gains from a labor standpoint in the month of May, the market reacted then so forth. This is the job creations then going back to 2022. So you can see it on a monthly basis to see, the reason why there was some uncertainty heading from 25 was it was a mixed bag from a jobs creation standpoint. Since March, April, and then May, you can see from a jobs perspective how those numbers are being reported. So what's interesting in all of this and why this matters as it relates to what it is that you do, this also affects rates. We're in a very commoditized business. So I shared with you, here's a Reuters article. And again, what I'm trying to do is pull you the information that I'm reading in order for you to see where I'm sourcing my information. So I'm not just giving you hot air. Goldman Sachs is pushing for the Fed for the rate cut call to come in 2027 amongst strong U.S. jobs data. Why this is important, I'll summarize this article. Because the jobs rate was strong, or report was strong in May, you're not going to expect the Fed, especially with the way oil has been trending, to cut rate. And so if jobs continue to be strong, they're basically saying, let's push out rate cuts until let's look at this in 2027. Basically, my point when a client comes up to you and says, what should I expect from a rate perspective? If I'm going to be a crystal ball, I'm going to say it's going to probably hover right around 6.4%. Like, we are where we are. Don't wait any longer. And especially within the state of Wisconsin, where we've seen appreciation going, like, the longer we delay the opportunity, the longer they're delaying equity opportunity in this. I shared with you the jobs report because it was a really important metric that came out, I think, last week, Thursday. All very strong indicators for us. And then when you really dive down into what's driving it, which is where I read the U.S. Census Bureau for the 5-county DMA in Milwaukee yesterday, all of it is trending in a direction where in our area, we're seeing increased people moving to the southeastern Wisconsin area, and the jobs report saying a lot of people are gainfully employed and employers are hiring. All of it's good for us. So I just help you to understand. I don't expect you to be able to articulate this to a client. I share this with you because it also should give you confidence in what it is that you do and where you do it. Make sense? Cool. So the grocery store market of the moment script didn't change a whole lot from last month. I'll walk you through it. Demand of the market has remained consistent. Buyers are proceeding cautiously due to macroeconomic uncertainty, yet our internal data tells us it has not loosened the competitive nature of the market. New inventory coming to the market continues to be healthy. It's not spiking, but healthy. Still not seeing a major pop, but the tide is indeed rising as it relates to total available inventory because buyers have gotten pickier, yet it doesn't mean they've gotten less competitive. There are two kinds of sellers, those that have to sell with life events and those wanting to cash in on their equity appreciation. These are the patient sellers. These are the ones that are testing the market. These are the ones that are driving the expired listing data that I've been sharing with you. Rate of velocity, homes are moving at similar rates. Expireds have increased pace. Make sure we're setting expectations. And then lastly, it's a cautious yet competitive market. The macroeconomic trends have people uncertain. There's been a yo-yo effect in rates, although I do believe this to be relatively stable moving forward based on the job report that just came back. People balance sheets are healthy. We're looking at the S&P as of yesterday. The S&P 500 is up 8% year to date, which gives people confidence. All of that's wind in our sails. Job reports, S&P 500. We need people to have stability to create certainty for them to take action. Make sense? A lot of information in here today. A lot of it was designed to help you understand what's going on with a lot of noise in the airwaves to give you confidence to be able to articulate that confidence to your clients. Cool? Sweet. Lastly, I'll just finish it up with the 2026 lore report. I source all the data down below because I like when some of my peers call me and say, whatever, I don't care. So here's the lore report, 2026 for 2026. The reason I share this with you, like our data is a collection of the productivity of this group. And when you consider that the average KW Milwaukee associate does 112% more closed dollar volume per agent than the average in Southeastern Wisconsin and 80% closed more units than the average agent, it's about creating an environment of productivity for you and our team's ability to serve you, to remove obstacles, to help you win. The data tells us that. The other piece of it that I would encourage you to is when you're in that moment where you feel like you're spinning your wheels, or you're stuck in your rut, lean on your peers, because sometimes we take our peers for granted and you're around the most productive group of people in the industry in Southeastern Wisconsin. Here are the trend lines for over the latest 12 months. Growth is important in this industry. You can see over the top 10 brokerage brands in Southeastern Wisconsin where it's occurring. And then lastly, across the luxury portfolio, I do this because so many people have leveraged this in order to break through in price points. We sell roughly a third of every home over $1 million in Southeastern Wisconsin. We sell 2.4x more luxury homes than the number 2 brand, and we sell them 30% faster. Again, this is not anything that we do. It's what you guys do. It's just us helping you tell a story to give you confidence, put wind in your sails. So when you walk in there on a listing appointment and you're trying to break through new price points, you say, list with me, and here is why. If you don't have your own data, tell ours. Use our stories, and I try and give you stories to be able to give you confidence. And then here, this is the most ridiculous trend line over the last 12 months in terms of who's capturing market share within that space. So with that, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. It's a great day to be alive. We have a lot to be grateful for. All of the information is available to you on the KW Realty MKE website, along with the app. Feel free to download it. If you have questions, hit me up. And if you ever want to know what my fundamental truths in life are, feel free to hit me up. It'll just cost you a beer. So cool. Thanks, guys.